Hey there, Sidney here, and welcome to a new video. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at some cards that deserve to be nerfed because they're just frankly too powerful right now. Some of these have been buffed and are a bit too strong right now. Some of these have been nerfed once and are still terrorizing the meta. And some of these have somehow gone untouched by the eyes of Avid. So without further ado, let's start talking about them. Ever since the alpha came out, Avid has been squishing down the power of some cards and raising the power of others almost every patch. And honestly, the first one that we have here has been squished out once, and it just didn't work. Hades used to be a 3-cost, 8 attack unit with the effect of if your opponent hasn't attacked you in 3 or more turns, force them to attack. Right now, the effect is 2 or more turns, so it's easier to proc, but it's still 6 power for a 3-cost unit. And right now, on the game, we have a little bit of a balance system where cards usually give you about the cost plus 1 in terms of power or in terms of advantage. When you factor in shields or healing, the rate is a bit less, but usually the cards are giving you, for example, Colette is giving you 3 attack instantly, 2 attack in the next turn, so it's delayed, so it's allowed to be a bit stronger. But usually it's around 3 power, 3 attack for a 3-cost unit plus 1, so a 3-4. And Hades misses the mark by 2 power. It's currently run in a lot of decks just because it's a big beefy stat stick. And my suggested change for that, with the added help of Prince Cats just giving me so much material to work with, is simple, just 3-4. Very simple card, still legendary in terms of power, still useful in terms of power, but now it isn't that much of a stat stick that just breaks everything that you put it on. It still works with Ninja, it's still a very powerful card, it's still a cheap deity for you to play in a paper deck, but it loses 2 power and remains the same effect-wise. I think that this would be a healthy change for it, and I think that this would be almost ready to print. I don't see it being played as much as it is right now, and this would force you to play it in force attack decks rather than just running as a big beefy guy. It has the same stat line as Cane Toad in terms of power output, same stat line as Tongue, so it really touches on the same amount of power generation that a force attack currently does. Moving on, we have Uranus. This card, when I saw it, I almost giggled in terms of how powerful it is. For common, this is a 3/7 that can freeze both cards in your opponent's hand for basically no risk. If you're running this, there is a chance that it messes up your place next turn, but most often, even if it freezes both cards in your hand, you still got an amazing card out of it. And when Avid did the common squish that we got just a few patches ago, I expected Uranus to be hit, and I was surprised to see that it didn't. I'm not sure the data backs up the fact that it's so powerful, but honestly, a 3/7 is even better than Kurt Hades, and it even has an effect that can literally just freeze your opponent's remaining cards in hand. So the risk is there, the variance is there, and I'm not a big fan of variance in this type of cards. So my suggested change is also quite simple. Reduce the power a bit, because Jesus Christ, this doesn't need to be a 3/7, and make the effect freeze a card in your hand, always in your hand, never been able to beat your opponent. This way, it's still very strong, it's still very powerful, and you can use it to remove burn from a burn deck, or you can just use it to freeze a pentagram of pizza in your hand if you don't care about playing it. It's still a very powerful card. It's generating a lot of power immediately. And I'm a big fan of how this would be changed. It's the same type of change that Hades needs, but this one also has a small effect adjustment to go with it. I hope that Avid stops doing the type of variance that we're getting in some cards right now, because it just doesn't really make sense to be running a card that can either freeze your hand or your opponent's hand and you don't have any control of it. Right now, if this was to change, there would be decks that would like to run it just to be able to freeze a burning card in hand, or run it because they don't care about it. So moving on, Epic of Gilgamesh. This is a very interesting case. Epic of Gilgamesh used to be, if you haven't played any other card this turn, it does the effect. So it's still the same effect, but it used to only hit if you played only Epic of Gilgamesh that turn. So it was a 310, but you could only play it alone. So before then, Boudica didn't exist, so that was a pretty bad card. Avid rightfully buffed it, but honestly, this buff doesn't really make any sense. It's a 310 that helps you with a lot of things. You're saving up some energy for next turn, and it's just frankly too powerful. And again, this is simply a common. This shouldn't be generating the amount of power that it does right now. So my suggested change is simple. Make it a 5 power loss. This way it's a 3/7 and it has a big hefty condition to be able to play with it. Honestly, brings it down to the line way more. This would still see play in the same amount of decks that it sees right now, but it would be much less of a preferred play rather than playing your big legendaries. I've seen a lot of plays where you have a good card in hand, and Gilgamesh is just way better than playing all three. So it's a simple change, a simple suggestion. I hope that Avid takes something close to this. Moving on, we have another really powerful common. Right now, Thomas Edison sees play in so many decks. And I think that Thomas Edison and House, the other cost increaser, just really need to be nerfed. But for this list, I'm just bringing you the top 5 that I really want to see nerfed. So this one is probably my go-to. I think that for a common, the power output that it has is just way too high. If your opponent plays all cards that the Thomas Edison effect hit, it's basically a 1-cost 5 power card to you, and I think that that's way too good. So my suggested change is simple. The idea that Thomas Edison only hits for 2 turns is good, but 2 turns is still quite a lot in the game. You can almost always have the effect up if you cycle it correctly. So my idea is bring down the power by 1, the 6/4 now, and the effect only hits next turn. So, sorry, this turn. So instead of being 2 turns, it's this turn, and that's it. So this would be a 2/4. Sorry, a 3/4 if your opponent plays all 3 cards that were affected by it. And I think that that makes a lot more sense. It's still a very powerful effect. It can basically deny your opponent from winning if you hit it correctly, if you time correctly. And if played with House, now it's way less of a dead turn for you if you draw both of them on the same turn in your opponent. Sorry, for opponent, they don't lose the turn entirely because they just can't play 2 cards on it. So I think that this change would be much more healthy for the game, and I hope that Avid doesn't print many cards like Thomas Edison for the future. I like the idea of having Drain as an effect, and inflation as well as an effect, which is what Thomas Edison is, but I'm not a big fan of how long Thomas Edison lasts. It's 2 turns. It basically just messes up your opponent for a lot of turns because the first turn that it hits, you're not being able to play a lot of cards. So now you have, let's say, 3 or 4 cards in hand that are nerfed by Thomas Edison's effect. So I think that the change to this turn only would be healthier for it, and it would still see a good amount of play. Another suggestion might be to make it a 5/3, and then it can be played with Newton, which would be very interesting to see. I like the idea of supporting Newton, but not that much. Newton right now is a 6/4, and it buffs your cards by 2 attack. I think that that's quite a lot. 2 attack is the same effect as Ninja, and it doesn't have any heavy condition like the fact that Ninja cuts your HP by a lot. So my suggested change for Newton is quite simple. I think that it shouldn't be 2 attack. It should be 1. But it should still stack. I think that one attack permanently would be an interesting downside to it in comparison to attack until played. You can still stack on your stuff. It's halving the output that it usually has, but on the turn try, it's a bit more power than the normal tries. I think that this would be a healthy change for Newton. Right now, ninja decks are just so everywhere that honestly, I just hate how powerful Newton is. Whenever you try to play a deck with science, any science amount, you just always put Newton. And I'm afraid that for the future of the game, that's gonna keep going. How often are you gonna be able to build a deck that requires you to give up a lot of room, like for example, Exomoon, which requires you to give up 10 slots to be able to play it, so you only have 2 slots remaining. And honestly, those slots are already very heavily contested for Newton and Ninja. So if every deck has to give up that choice of playing a cool deck versus playing Newton, I hope the Newton gets changed. It's a release card, so everyone is gonna have them for the remainder of the game until Avid starts doing rotations or removing cards from rotation. So I think that this one should be changed, should be reduced in power, or something that makes it way harder to play it. I just hope that Newton is one of the cards hit. So that was it for the top 5 cards that I really want to see nerfed. I hope that you guys liked it, and I hope that you guys like the proposed changes. I hope that Avid sees this and brings us some changes, because right now, so many of these are just way more powerful than they should be. So I'll see you guys soon, and I hope that this video gets dated really, really quickly. And someone in the comments is going to go, "Ha! Remember when Uranus used to be 7 attack? Now it's just 1 attack," or something like that. So see you guys soon. Thank you for watching.